and welcome to another edition of the Lynn Lowdown. And we have he was here with us last year, giving us some good news, and now he's back with us. This is the second time you're on with us, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure to be here.
Mr. Norris Guscott is here with us. How are you doing on this lovely Friday?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm looking forward to actually going for a walk. I'm looking outside now. Thanks for inviting me.
Definitely. All right, so we got some catching up to do, just to inform people on some stuff that you've been going on. First, just talk about, since the last time you came on, just talk about what you all have accomplished since then, and then we'll get into some of the most recent thing that you guys got.
All right, so some accomplishments. Last time I came on, so I was talking about like a wide range of stuff, like who is the task force, because at that time, the brand new formation. So I was saying who we are, what we're doing, and how we do it. And then and then another time after that, actually, was that? I think that was the PBT. We were talking about PEBT, but does feed into the first time, because the first time, like, this is the task force. We're in the middle of a pandemic here, but we've got Lynn's back, and this is how we intend to do it. Second time I was with Wesley, and that was an issue with PBT.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not confusing, maybe we spoke about at the same time, but that was a PBT issue, and where about 2,000 Lynn families, or Lynn children, school-age children, activated their PBT card. So that was more of a fire. So since then, we've since worked with Lauren Baker, the Food Security Task Force, headed up by Sue over at Lynn Community Health Center. Shout outs to her. She definitely got it going there and looped us in. Those families, she has been able to work with LPS, identifying those families, and also Project Bread has, so more iterations, more funding has gone out on the PEBT cards, but credit to Project Bread, the outreach, outreach in multiple different languages. There's lots of what ifs, lots of frequently asked questions, lots of materials that organizations and folks like myself can give out to Lynn residents, and so the outreach has been better. But since then, in terms of communication, the task force, we're in lockstep. And by that I mean, if there, like for example, if there is a new food resource available, we can get messaging across many different populations in Lynn. Some populations, me working at City Hall, would have some hesitancy speaking with me about. We have organizations who all residents, regardless of whatever, can speak with and get their information. We've gotten some funding that we've been using, but I think I spoke about that as well. It was $10,000 to subsidize some food that got the beginning of our website going. We expanded some delivery areas there. We've also been, and this is kind of well, it is Lynn inspired, but myself and the food project from Lynn, we've been working with Mass Food System Collaborative, actually, on a statewide bill, bringing agriculture, and more or less that would give municipalities like Lynn the tools and funding and the research they need in order to make better decisions about food equity. And I can get all into that another time, but more or less, if you notice, certain populations, certain vulnerable populations by race, by how much money they have, by gender, certain populations feel food insecurity at a higher rate than others, and that's what that bill would.
Yeah, definitely. Do you feel as if the food insecurity issues has been improving?
I do. I feel like it's improving because there's a spotlight on it now, whereas there never used to be. So the food system's been broken for since I was for years now, for decades, and this pandemic just exposed that. So because such a huge spotlight is over it, it can't help but I'd hope that it would. If it weren't getting better, there'd be some things wrong, because we have, whole families that, well, this used to be the case, so probably in some areas still is, like, can't work, and therefore, they all have COVID-19 and can't get food. And, it was always like that before. Maybe not COVID-19, but all it took was for, maybe a parent to lose the job, maybe a parent to get sick, and then, that whole family becomes food insecure. So there are different parallels. This definitely just exposed it. And I think because of that extra exposure that, efforts are being made to address that.
Yeah, definitely. And now let's get into what recently the city of Lynn approved one of your proposals, and you guys are going to get funding. Just can you please tell everybody a little about that?
Yeah, so No Kid Hungry by Share. So the No Kid Hungry, as I understand, that's a collaboration with Share Our Strength. They came together to put out some grants, of which I applied on behalf of Lynn. They gave us $21,000. It's pretty exciting. And breaking that down, so there's lots of bits and pieces to it. And by that, I mean, COVID-19 is still happening. And like, how do I put this? I wish I'd be able to say, like, we're going to have XYZ programming available. And I still can kind of, but I can't say, for example, whether they'll be in person, how much we can have and stuff like that. So I'm just giving that before I go in and break down what the reason the grant is and what we hope to do with it. So, mission number one, like, we want to identify and engage about 500 to 800 families and provide targeted outreach. And so targeted outreach, that means in addition to getting in touch with the families, and we'll be sending them information about, like, SNAP, HIP, WIC, food pantries in Lynn, food delivery options in Lynn, because we've got our own, mini food delivery operations going. We've come to find that Lynn residents aren't hearing about all of the options available. So this intends to make some inroads there. Task force members engage Lynn residents almost every day in their jobs. So we feel pretty confident about this being able to reach that target. And so what that looks like, right? That folks might see myself or a neighborhood food specialist, and they're going to be from Lynn. They're not going to be from any outside organizations. Walking around certain areas, speaking with the neighborhood, getting a head count, because we are sensitive that, the folks aren't going to want to give their full names and information. This is more about, like, families and children and hard numbers, and making sure that the programs, making sure that the funding and all of the resources we have are actually going to where they're supposed to be going, right? And so mission number two, we're just going to bulk up our food security infrastructure. And by that, I mean, we're going to expand our delivery capabilities. We've got New American Center and New Lynn Coalition, who have been absolute champions, like, in terms of delivery with their volunteer systems. We're going to, well, we have the funding, we're going to expand that a little more, give them some funding so that their drivers can do what they do, see how they do fit, and increase operations. We want to subsidize 4,000 pounds of food. That means regardless of whether you can pay for it or not, the city of Lynn has some food available. We want to finalize the farm stand to doorstep delivery request system. We've had that going, and we've had funding from the previous grant. This should finalize it, actually more than finalize it, should actually expand it. We'll be able to, get a bigger subscription, make some more improvements. So also, as a Lynn resident, it's nice to know that if for whatever reason you, your family, your friends, whoever become food insecure, you can just call, like, Lynn City Hall and you're good to go.
How much how much funding did they provide you all?
21,000.
21,000, and that's adequate enough for what you need to accomplish what you have set as far as delivering and all that
That's
for
a
the moment.
Great question, great point. So for the time being,
Yeah.
it's enough to expand it, right? But part of why I'm in City Hall, like I should be getting more of these, like incoming, if not coming up with program. That's my job. So as long as I'm in this role, like I'm going to continue to get the funding, and ultimately, the mission is to. Well, I mean, so this is the City of Lynn's Food Security Task Force, right?
Yeah.
And so therefore, that's on me to get this funding going.
Yeah.
That's what I intend to do. So we'll see in a couple months, right? But what I personally I'd like to do is get try to shoot for bigger fundings, maybe 50K, maybe 100K next time, multiple years. But for the time being, 21. This is good for a couple years, and then
Is that something that as we move on? Is that something you're already working on? Is looking at other grants and other fundings to apply for? Is that something that you're already working on?
Oh yeah, like as we speak, I've got about 2 to 3. So a big part of my job is proposals, statistics and proposals, and I'm trying to prove to funders and organizations, municipalities, even lawmakers, what's happening in food security with the numbers, and taking those numbers and sending it out and using those numbers and getting the aid that's required to solve that. More so that's tons of typing, tons of data. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Now for anybody that wants to help in any type of way, or they want to volunteer, or they want to donate, just let them know the best way to do so.
So you can volunteer if you'd like to help out the Food Security Task Force. You can volunteer at any one of the amazing organizations, food-related organizations. I mean, they're all food-related, but there's My Brother's Table, there's the Salvation Army, there's the Food Project, there's Greater Lynn Senior Services. You can actually go on the City of Lynn's website and look at the task force members on there, and literally you pick anyone, because we definitely need the volunteers, but only if you feel safe doing so. And part of feeling safe is maybe getting the vaccine. Volunteering is the best way to help us, and also just being aware, being aware of what you're eating, how far the closest, supermarket is, and the resources that Lynn has available, because Lynn and the state as a whole, we have like quite a few resources available for food insecure folks.
Yeah, definitely. And lastly, just can you just give a little plans for, we got the summer coming up. I mean, as you said, people are getting vaccines are being distributed. People are getting vaccines. So, what's the summer plans, and then heading into the fall for the task force?
So so we're going to keep our eye on things. We are cautiously optimistic that with the vaccines getting into arms, that we'll have somewhat of a normal summer, and I say that like knocking on wood and all of that. And even so, that would bode well for the programming and stuff, because we've got like in-person community kitchen, community cooking classes and stuff like that. So we're hopeful, and also we know that with the summer, people like to get together, and that always leads an uptick in cases and there's variants. And so we've always got, we still remember what the beginning of the pandemic was like. We've got our eye out for that. And also we're cautiously optimistic that we're in a decline with cases, and we should see some semblance of normality.
Definitely, definitely. Well, Norris, thank you once again for coming on and giving us the information and telling us about the funding that you all receive. And please, once again, let them know website if they want to contact you about anything. Just please give out your email and all that.
Yep. So if you can go to the City Hall's website. So no, thank you for having me, McCall. Pleasure as always talking about the issues. Really appreciate that. If you can go to City Hall's website, you know, and go to Google, type in City of Lynn, or cityoflynn.gov. And if you want to reach out to me, it's N Guscott. So N is in Nancy, my last name, Guscott, Guscott at lynnmass.gov. You can shoot me an email, even if it's like, hey, can you call me real quick? Or even if I have to text or whatever, I'll get in touch. If you're a Lynn resident and you're food insecure, get in touch with me or any food security task force member.
All right, and there you go. That is Mr. Norris Guscott joining us on the Lynn Lowdown. Thank you once again. You guys have a great day.